Her father promised to give his wild barbarian daughter to any human who could beat her. The torchlight guttered as Serena Blackthorn's sword clattered to the arena's sand, the crowd's roar fading to a stunned silence. No one had ever disarmed the warlord's daughter until now. The stranger's blade still hummed against her throat, its edge kissing her pulse as his silver eyes burned with secrets darker than the fortress dungeons. Cheat, she spat. The corner of his mouth lifted, not in triumph, but something far more dangerous. Strategy, he murmured, and in that heartbeat before the horn sounded and the world erupted in flames, Serena understood two terrible truths. This man had come for more than a bride, and the real battle hadn't even begun. Chapter 1. The night on Nova Prime hung heavy over the human colony, a suffocating blanket of darkness pierced only by the flickering lights of the settlement. Shadows stretched and twisted like living things, and the air buzzed with an unspoken dread that kept every colonist on edge. Somewhere out there, under alien stars, danger prowled unseen. Captain Marcus Hale stood rigid at his post, his grizzled face a map of worry carved by years of command. At 42, he'd faced plenty, but nothing like the terror that had sunk its claws into Nova Prime. His gloved hands gripped the railing, knuckles white, as if he could squeeze answers out of the night itself. A scream ripped through the stillness, raw and desperate. "Run! It's here!" A colonist shrieked, voice cracking with panic. Hale bolted, his team thundering behind him, boots pounding the dirt into clouds of dust. They skidded to a halt at the settlement's edge, where a young man lay crumpled, his chest a mess of jagged claw marks. Above him loomed the Shadow Stalker, its eyes twin embers of hate, its body a shimmering blur of black scales that drank the light. Hale raised his rifle, finger twitching, but the creature melted into the dark with a hiss, gone before a shot could ring out. "Damn it!" Hale snarled, slamming his fist into his open palm. "It's too fast, slippery as a shadow in a storm." Lieutenant Sarah Brooks stepped up beside him, wiping sweat from her brow. Her sleek suit gleamed faintly under the colony's lights, built for agility in a world that demanded it. "Captain, we've tried it all," she said, exasperation edging her tone. "Bullets bounce off, traps snap, shut on nothing. It's like chasing smoke." Hale glared into the void where the beast had vanished, his jaw tight enough to crack. "We're bleeding people out here, Sarah. I won't stand by while it picks us off one by one." Brooks crossed her arms, her voice steady but sharp. "I get it, Marcus, but what's left? We've emptied the playbook, unless you've got a miracle stashed in that stubborn head of yours." He spun to face her, eyes blazing. "Then we write a new one. We don't stop till this thing's dead, or we are. No colonies dying on my watch." Silence fell over the team, heavy as the night itself. The Shadow Stalker wasn't just a hunter. It was fear made flesh, and it reveled in their helplessness. Miles away, in the heart of the settlement, Dr. Amelia Grant hunched over her lab bench, screens casting a cold glow on her determined face. At 36, she was the colony's sharpest mind, and she'd be damned if some monster outsmarted her. Answers were out there. She just had to find them. Hale trudged back toward the colony, his team trailing behind. The darkness pressed closer, a living thing with teeth. He paused at the gate, staring out into the black. "We'll get it," he growled, low and fierce. "Mark my words, we'll get it." Brooks clapped a hand on his shoulder, her grip firm. "Damn right, we will, Captain. Damn right." They stepped inside, steeling themselves for the fight ahead, knowing the Shadow Stalker watched and waited. Chapter 2. Dr. Amelia Grant's lab buzzed with a low hum of machinery, a sharp contrast to the chaos gripping the colony beyond its walls. Her desk was a mess of scattered papers covered in frantic scribbles and half-baked theories. She hunched over her microscope, brow creased in focus, the screen's blue light carving deep shadows across her face. At 36, she carried the weight of being the colony's sharpest mind, and her sleek, practical suit clung to her tense frame like a second skin. Sophia Ramirez, the colony's medic, slipped in quietly, her boots whispering against the floor. At 32, She had the steady hands and keen eyes of someone forged in crisis. Her suit matching Grant's, but worn with a casual grace. "Amelia, you've been at this all night," she said, her tone soft yet insistent. "You need a break." Grant didn't flinch, her fingers tweaking the microscope's lens with surgical precision. "No time, Sophia. This thing's killing us, and I'm close. I can feel it." Sophia sighed, folding her arms. "Close to what? You've been glued to that sample for hours." A flicker of excitement danced in Grant's eyes as she zoomed in on the display, her breath hitching. "Take a look," she whispered, jabbing a finger at a tiny, squirming speck on the screen. "It's not just tissue. There's something else, something alive." Sophia leaned closer, squinting. "What, like a bug? A parasite? Maybe," Grant said, her mind racing. "Or maybe it's the answer we've been chasing." The door slammed open with a sudden bang, cutting off Sophia's reply. Liam Chun, 29, buzzing with restless energy, stormed in, clutching a gadget with dangling wires. "Doc, you've got to see this," he shouted, practically vibrating with enthusiasm. Grant arched an eyebrow, her attention shifting. "What now, Liam?" "It's a sonic emitter," he crowed, holding it up like a trophy. "Blasts a wave that scrambles animal brains. Could give us a shot against that monster." Sophia smirked, unimpressed. "Does it work? Or is this another one of your genius flops?" Liam grinned wider. "Oh, it works. Zapped a rat with it. The poor guy ran in circles for 5 minutes straight. Next up, giant killer beast." Grant's lips quirked into a reluctant smile. "Not bad, Liam, but we need more than gadgets. We need to understand it." Liam shrugged, unfazed. "Hey, every edge counts, right? Better than staring at creepy crawlies all day." Sophia snorted. "At least she's useful. Your toy might just tick that thing off more." Or, Liam shot back, waggling his eyebrows. "It could make it dance. Picture it, Shadow Stalker doing the tango." Grant let out a low chuckle, the knot in her chest loosening for a split second. "Enough, you two. Liam, your emitter might help, but I need to crack this first." She turned back to the microscope, her face hardening. The speck pulsed faintly, almost alive with intent. "This isn't just a parasite," she said, voice dropping. "I think it's controlling the creature." Sophia's eyes widened. "Wait, you're saying the Shadow Stalker's not even in charge?" "Exactly," Grant replied, her tone grim. "Kill the parasite, and we might stop the attacks." Liam whistled. "Whoa, that's nuts. So we're not fighting the beast. We're fighting its puppet master." "Something like that," Grant muttered, her thoughts whirling. "But I need more data, and we need a way to test it up close." Sophia rested a hand on Grant's shoulder, steady as ever. "You'll get it, Amelia. You always do." Grant gave a tight nod, doubt gnawing at her gut. Time was slipping away, and the colony was bleeding lives. Still, a faint spark of hope flickered inside her. She just had to keep it alive. As Liam and Sophia slipped out, Grant stayed, eyes locked on the screen. The parasite was the key. She knew it. The Shadow Stalker was coming, and she'd be ready, or they'd all be dead. Chapter 3. The forest loomed like a living thing, its twisted branches clawing at the sky, blotting out the faint glow of the colony's lights. Captain Marcus Hale trudged back through the undergrowth, his boots sinking into the damp earth, each step heavier than the last. The weight of Jake's death clung to him like wet ash, gritty, suffocating, impossible to shake. Sarah Brooks stayed close, her torn suit flapping faintly in the breeze, her silence louder than any words. The Shadow Stalker was still out there, its guttural growl echoing in their skulls, a taunt they couldn't answer. Not yet. Back at the colony, the air in the meeting hall buzzed with tension, thick enough to choke on. Hale stormed in, slamming his rifle onto the table with a metallic clang that made half the room flinch. "That thing's a damn nightmare," he barked, his voice raw and jagged. "Tougher than steel, faster than us, and it's playing with us like we're rats in a trap." Sarah leaned against the wall, cradling her injured shoulder, her face pale, but her eyes burning. "We can't keep doing this, Marcus," she said, her tone sharp enough to cut. "Running and guns blazing? It's not working. Jake's proof of that." Hale whirled on her, his glare hot enough to melt iron. You think I don't know that? You think I wanted to leave him out there like roadkill? His fists clenched, knuckles popping. But sitting on our asses won't kill it either. Dr. Amelia Grant stepped into the fray, her lab coat a stark white flag in the dim, grimy room. Then stop yelling and listen, she said, her voice calm but edged with steel. I've got something. It's not ready, but it's a start. Hale snorted, crossing his arms. Oh great, more science fairy tales. What's it this time, Doc? Gonna knit it a sweater and ask it to tea? Grant didn't blink. Laugh all you want, Captain, but that thing's not invincible. I think it's out of parasite, something controlling it, driving it. If I can isolate it, we might weaken it. Sarah perked up, wincing as she straightened. You mean it's not just a monster? There's something in it. Exactly, Grant said, her eyes flicking between them. I've seen traces in the samples. Odd proteins, irregular cell growth. It's a hunch, but it fits. Hale rubbed his jaw, stubble rasping under his calloused fingers. A hunch. Fantastic. So while you're playing with your test tubes, it's out there picking us off like snacks. Grant's lips twitched, a spark of defiance flaring. Better than you turning us into target practice, Marcus. Give me 12 hours. That's all I'm asking. 12 hours. Hale laughed, bitter and loud. In 12 hours, we could be down a half a squad. Sarah stepped forward, her voice low but firm. She's right, Captain. We're out of moves. Let her try. What's the alternative? Charge it again and hope it chokes on our bones. Hale glared at them both, his chest heaving. Finally, he jabbed a finger at Grant. Fine. 12 hours. Document. But if this flops, I'm taking that thing down myself. Even if I have to rip its guts out with my bare hands. Grant nodded, already turning for the door. Deal. Just keep it busy if it comes knocking. She slipped out, her mind racing toward the lab. The parasite theory was thin, but it was something, a thread in the dark. Outside, the forest growled, the shadow stalker's shadow stretching long and hungry. Time was bleeding away, and the colony's pulse was fading with it. Chapter 4. Dr. Amelia Grant's lab was a flickering cave of controlled chaos, the air heavy with the sting of ozone and the faint tang of antiseptic. Screens glowed with jagged streams of data, painting her face in stark blues and greens as she hunched over her microscope. Her fingers, restless with a mix of exhaustion and determination, adjusted the lens. At 36, she'd unraveled her share of mysteries, but this parasite, this writhing, pulsing nightmare, was a beast like no other. Its cells shimmered under the glass, taunting her with secrets she could almost grasp. She muttered to herself, "Come on, you little bastard, give me something." The door slammed open with a bang that jolted her upright, her focus shattering like a dropped glass. Liam Chun burst in, wild-eyed and grinning, clutching his sonic emitter like it was the Holy Grail. "Doc, you've got to see this," he bellowed, his voice ricocheting off the steel walls. Grant flinched, pressing a hand to her temple. "Liam, seriously? What part do not disturb don't you get?" she snapped, her voice sharp enough to cut. Sofia Ramirez slipped in behind him, her dark eyes glinting with a mix of amusement and weariness. "I told him to chill, but you know he's got the patience of a caffeinated toddler," she said, shrugging. "Might as well let him yap before he combusts." Liam waved the emitter under Grant's nose, undeterred. "Check it. I juiced the frequency. Now it's got range. 50 yards, bam, scrambled monster brains." Grant swatted it aside, her patience fraying. "Great, Liam, but I'm neck deep in parasite hell here. It's not just about zapping the shadow stalker. It's about what's driving it." Liam's grin widened, reckless and bright. "Exactly, Doc. What if this baby shakes the puppet strings loose? Gives that thing a timeout from its parasite overlord?" Sophia snorted, folding her arms. "Or it'll just make it mad enough to eat us faster." "You thought of that, hotshot." Liam winked, unfazed. "Hey, a pissed-off monster's better than a sneaky one. At least we'd see it coming." Grant's lips twitched despite herself. "Fine, demo it. But make it fast. Time's not our friend." Liam practically bounced to a cage in the corner where a small, skittish lizard darted in circles. Feast your eyes, he said, aiming the emitter and flicking it on. A low hum buzzed through the air, and the lizard froze mid-scramble, twitching before flopping over like a discarded toy. Sophia leaned in, squinting. Dead. No. Liam scooped it up, cradling it like a prize. Stunned. I like a light, but breathing. Grant's mind sparked, gears turning fast. Huh. Neural disruption. Could it scale up? Liam shrugged, scratching his head. Maybe. I need to crank the juice, but the circuits might fry. Sophia tapped her chin, her tone dry. And the parasite? What if it's the puppet master? Could this cut the strings? Grant's pulse kicked up, a thrill cutting through her fatigue. That's the angle. If we disrupt the connection, even for a second, we've got a shot. Liam pumped a fist. Boom! Team science, baby. Sophia rolled her eyes, smirking. Slow down, cowboy. We're still in the deep end. Grant nodded, her gaze flicking back to the microscope. She's right. It's a lead, but I need to test it on the parasite itself. Liam's bravado faltered. Wait, what? Like bait the shadow stalker close. Exactly. Grant set her voice steel. We lure it, hit it with the emitter, and watch the parasite squirm. Sophia's jaw tightened. That's nuts, Amelia. You're talking about dangling ourselves in front of a meat grinder. Grant met her stare, unflinching. I know, but if we don't, this colony's done. I'd rather risk it than wait to die. Silence fell, heavy and electric. Outside, the forest growled with menace, the shadow stalker's presence a tightening noose. Grant turned back to her screens, fingers flying over keys. The emitter was a gamble, but it was hers. She'd crack this, or they'd all pay the price. Chapter 5. Dr. Amelia Grant's lab buzzed with a chaotic symphony of whirring machines and flickering screens, the air heavy with the sharp tang of antiseptic and a faint electric hum. Under the microscope, the parasite's sample pulsed like a living heartbeat, its alien cells glinting with an eerie, iridescent glow. Grant hunched over her workstation, her brow furrowed, eyes locked on the magnified image. Her fingers trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the thrill of discovery. This wasn't just a breakthrough. It was the key to everything. Sofia Ramirez slouched against the doorway, arms crossed, her dark hair spilling over one shoulder. You look like you've seen a ghost, Amelia. Spill it. What's got you so wired? Grant didn't look up right away, her voice low and taut. It's not just a parasite, Sophia. It's controlling the shadow stalker. Look at this. Asterisk looked startled. She jabbed a finger at the screen, where the parasite's tendrils squirmed and twisted, almost as if they knew they were being watched. Sophia stepped closer, squinting at the writhing mass. Creepy as hell. So what's the play here? We can't exactly sweet-talk it into leaving. Before Grant could answer, Liam Chin burst through the door, his sonic emitter clutched triumphantly in both hands. Hey, Doc, feast your eyes on this bad boy. I've cranked the range up to 50 yards. Total brain-scrambling chaos. Grant's lips twitched into a fleeting smile. Impressive, Liam, but we need to test it directly on the parasite. Liam's grin dropped like a stone. Wait, what? Do you mean up close with that thing? Like face-to-face close. Sophia snorted, tossing him a sidelong glance. What's the matter, hotshot? Scared of a little shadow monster. Scared? Me? Liam puffed out his chest, though his voice cracked just enough to betray him. I'm just saying, I'd rather blast it from, not hugging distance. Grant straightened, brushing a strand of hair from her face. We lure it in, hit it with the emitter, and see if it breaks the parasite's hold. That's the plan. Sophia's jaw tightened, her eyes narrowing. That's Bat's hit insane. Amelia, you're talking about dangling ourselves like worms on a hook. I know, Grant shot back, her tone steel-edged. But if we don't act, the colony's done for. I'd rather risk my neck than sit here waiting to die. The room went quiet, the weight of her words sinking in. Beyond the lab's reinforced walls, the forest rumbled, a low, menacing growl that promised the shadow stalker was closer than ever. Liam broke the silence, his bravado shaky but stubborn. Well, if we're screwed anyway, might as well go out with a bang, right? Sophia rolled her eyes, a smirk tugging at her lips. "You're an idiot, Chun. But yeah, I'm in." Grant turned back to her screens, fingers flying over the controls. "Then let's move. We've got a monster to tame." The lab erupted into motion, tools clattered, voices overlapped, and the team dove into their desperate gamble. Grant's mind raced as she calibrated the emitter's frequency, a chill creeping up her spine. She couldn't shake the feeling that the parasite knew. It was watching, waiting. The final clash was barreling toward them, and only one side would survive the night. Chapter 6. The lab was a whirlwind of noise and motion, its usual sterile calm shattered by the clatter of crates and the hiss of sparking wires. Dr. Amelia Grant stood at the heart of it, her fingers flying across a control panel as she adjusted the sonic emitter settings. Sweat beaded on her forehead, her sharp eyes locked on the flickering display, but her hand shook ever so slightly, proof of the fear she refused to voice. This was their one chance to stop the Shadow Stalker, and every second counted. Liam Chun paced nearby, his boots thudding against the floor in a restless rhythm. "Come on, Doc, you're slower than a sloth on a coffee break," he said, his tone brash but brittle. "That thing's out there drooling for a snack, and we're still tinkering." Sophia Ramirez crouched beside a power cell and glared up at him. "Can it, Chun? You're not helping," she snapped. "Keep flapping your gums, and I'll volunteer you as the appetizer." Liam smirked, unfazed. "Oh, please. I'd be too spicy for its taste. Besides, I'm the genius who built this emitter. Show some respect." Grant's voice cut through, cool and commanding. "Liam, if you don't stop pacing, I'll test this emitter on you first." He halted, hands raised in mock surrender. "Yikes, Doc. Message received. I'll just stand here like a good boy." Sophia chuckled despite herself. "First time for everything, huh?" A shrill beat from the console jolted them back to reality. Grant froze, her stomach dropping as she scanned the screen. "Hold on, the frequency's slipping. It's not stable." Liam's bravado evaporated. "What? I checked it twice." Sophia stood, brushing dust off her knees. "Checked it with what? Your ego?" She leaned over Grant's shoulder. "What's wrong, Amelia?" Grant's mind raced as she typed furiously. "The power draw's too high. It's cooking the circuits. If we trigger it now, it'll burn out before it even reaches the parasite." Liam groaned, raking a hand through his hair. "Fantastic. So we're toast." "Not if we fix it," Grant said, her voice steadying. "We'll reroute the power through the backup grid. It'll hold, just barely." Sophia nodded and darted to the secondary console. "I'm on it." Liam quit sulking and grabbed those cables. He muttered under his breath but obeyed, kneeling beside her. "Bossy much? You're a medic, not a drill sergeant. And you're an engineer who panics like a rookie," she fired back, smirking as she handed him a tangled cord. "Plug it in, genius." Grant's lips twitched upward as she worked. They were a mess, but they were her mess. The emitter hummed to life, its readings finally steady with a crisp click. "Done," she said, exhaling. "It's ready." Liam hooped, punching the air. "Yes, time to zap that freak." Sophia straightened, wiping her hands. "Don't get cocky. We still have to lure it without becoming dinner." Grant turned to them, her face a mask of resolve. "That's the next step. We set the trap, bait it, and hope this holds. If it fails," she trailed off, the unspoken hanging heavy. Outside, the forest growled with menace, the Shadow Stalker's presence a dark promise. Grant gripped the emitter's controls, her pulse thundering. Tonight, it would end, one way or another. Chapter 7. The clearing buzzed with tension so thick it felt like static, the faint hum of the sonic emitter weaving through the gnarled trees. Dr. Amelia Grant crouched behind a barricade of battered crates, her pulse hammering as she peered into the gloom. Sophia Ramirez gripped her med kit, her sharp eyes darting between shadows, while Liam Chen's fingers danced nervously over the emitter's remote. Captain Marcus Hale and Lieutenant Sarah Brooks stood like sentinels at the edges, rifles steady, faces carved from stone. "Think that'll work, Doc?" Liam's whisper cracked, a thin veneer of bravado over his jitters. Grant's gaze flicked to him, firm but edged with strain. "It has to. One shot's all we get. Sophia smirked, her voice dry as dust. Oh great, no pressure then. Cut it. Hale barked, his growl slicing the night. It's here. A hush smothered them, broken only by a rustle of leaves. Then came the growl, low, guttural, a sound that clawed at their guts. The shadow stalker loomed out of the dark, a hulking mass blotting out the stars.